Hi there and welcome back to PCA Garage. I'm here with another DIY project and I will be replacing my crankshaft pulley with a harmonically damped underdrive pulley. And this is for a 2007 Cayman. It's a 987.1 model with an M97 engine. The reason I'm doing this is not because of the slight performance increase that an underdrive pulley will provide, but because it's harmonically damped, it should quell or balance off some of the bad vibrations introduced by putting a lightweight flywheel into the car instead of the heavier dual mass flywheel that came stock.
Be sure to log into your YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video.
When you are doing a lightweight flywheel and you decide that you would like to put a harmonically damped pulley onto your car, you have a couple options. They did make one that will fit for the 997.1 Carrera S, the 3.8 liter model. But aftermarket companies such as RSS or Road Sport Supply also make underdrive harmonically damped pulleys. Now the difference here you can see is in size. And how an underdrive pulley works is that it's smaller, the belt is smaller, and the belt is actually turning more slowly compared to with a normal size pulley. Now what this does is it slows down the water pump, the alternator, and crucially the power steering pump, which also frees up a bit of horsepower in your car. Why that's important is because power steering pumps can overheat in track conditions, and I plan to track the car. The water pump turning more slowly isn't actually as bad as it sounds because the coolant is staying in the radiators a little bit longer before it passes back through the engine. So for street driving, the only thing maybe I should worry about is if I start the car up, maybe drive it a little bit longer if I don't plan to drive for a super long period of time, just to make sure that the battery gets charged. That being said, I'll be putting this underdrive pulley on. I'll put this 997 Carrera S pulley to the side, and let's go over the tools. So the tools you need, it's pretty simple actually. So the kit that I bought from Road Sport Supply includes the pulley, the shorter belt, and also a wrench, which we'll need to use when we're putting the new pulley back on, and I'll explain that as we get deeper into the video. RSS also includes a new friction washer or friction disc that I believe goes on the back of the pulley on the engine side when you put it on. You will want to buy a new OEM Porsche crank pulley bolt, and I would also might as well throw in a thrust washer. So to get the pulley off, the original pulley, RSS does send this little bolt that you'll stick to the pulley, which we'll see a little bit later, and it will go into a timing boss and keep the pulley still as you're loosening it. For me, I have hardback seats, so I'm going to have to take a seat out. Some of you might have that, so you'll want to have some female Torx sockets, and then I've also found that a 3/8 wrench will fit really well around the seat bolts and allow you to take them off if you can't move it up or down or forward and back. You have limited room. A panel separator or a little tool like this helps you get under the carpet to take that off before you get to the firewall. So I don't have a 24mm wrench, but I have used this one in the past, and basically I'll be using this to press down on the tensioning pulley so I can get the belt off and then back on. A 24mm wrench would do better if you have that. And then a Dremel tool. So as I said, because the stock pulleys are larger, I believe it's right here, you would stick your tool here to get the crankshaft to stay still as you're loosening it. And then if you're putting a stock pulley back on, you do the exact same thing, only you're tightening it. Because the underdrive pulley is smaller, it actually covers up that little timing boss where you can put this tool in. So we're going to have to shave down that boss. Hopefully it doesn't take too long with a little Dremel like this and possibly some files, but shave that down so this can fit. Then we use this wrench that RSS sends to stick into these holes that you thread in. Oh, you don't actually thread them in, you just stick them in there, and you can hold the pulley that way as you're torquing the pulley down. So as far as tools go, you don't need much. You'll need 24mm socket to get the crank pulley bolt off. And I recommend a breaker bar. I have a couple in various sizes, and a torque wrench. And then when we're doing the final torque, it's actually by angle and not by foot-pounds. So it helps to have one of these. You can also, I believe, make something like this with a piece of paper if you want to get creative. Because metal shavings for when we're shaving down the timing boss are never a good thing. We have a vacuum here that I'll be using. I'll probably be taping off and covering and putting things all around in the car so that when I'm grinding that down, any metal flakes don't get caught in any of the idler pulleys or tensioner pulley or anything like that. So important to stay clean here. And then to put on the crank pulley bolt, I'm going to apply some heavy-duty thread locker. I believe Loctite 271 or Loctite 272 is good, or I'm using this red Permatex since the shop I went to did not have Loctite. And with that, it is time to start disassembling the car, taking the seat out, and getting this underdrive pulley in. All right, so for those of you who have stock seats, this process might be a little bit easier. You just fold the seat forward. Because I do not have stock seats, I need to take the seat out, which requires a, let's see here, E12 torque socket. And then I find what helps if you have a hardback seat like this is that a 3/8 wrench will go right onto the Torx bolt and allow you to loosen it. If you can't do so quite as easily with this wrench, which doesn't even fit. All right, so now the seat's loose. I have a little bit of room to work around here and take the seat belt off, which is a 19mm. At least I believe it's 19mm, not 19mm. So this is actually a 17mm bolt to take the seat belt off. Actually, that seat belt bolt comes out nice and easy once you get it started. All right, and once that seat belt's out, kind of like to just put the bolt back in. Make sure you have these little pieces that go in like that. So this little plastic washer, if you still have it. Try not to hit anything with your seat. They're heavy. This thing's a little lighter, being a race seat. All right, now that we have the seat out, there's plenty of room for me to just sit in here and start working. So I'll be using this little tool to help with pulling out some of the carpeting. It's nice just to hook in like that. A nice grab, and it comes right out. Do the same thing here on the other side. Helps to put that thing up because it's stuck in there. And easy as that, you have access to your engine's firewall. Okay, so what we're going to need here is a little 10mm for taking these firewall bolts out. So to take the firewall off, just keep track. You have 7 bolts and 2 nuts. And it comes right off like that. So once you have the engine firewall out, you're going to be zeroing in down to replace the crankshaft pulley, which is right there. And then right above it, right there, is the tensioner pulley, which is what you'll use to a 24mm wrench to push down, which loosens the belt enough for you to pull it off. All right, so we're here. We have the firewall off. Now it's time to take off the belt. So I'm going to take my 24mm, put it right there. It's always good to take a picture of how the belt was. I know I've done this a couple times, so I think I'm all good. And there we go. So we've taken that belt off. So now's the time, good time to check your pulleys. Be sure there's no play. Everything looks good here. And so now it's time to use that 24mm wrench again to turn the engine until it's at top dead center. Once we get it to top dead center, we'll insert this bolt that RSS, we'll enter this bolt that RSS gave us to make sure that the crankshaft pulley stays where it needs to be while we're loosening it. Might take a little bit of wiggling and trial and error to get it, but it'll come. And there we go. Once it's in there, it should be in there pretty good. And you will now be able to take your 24mm socket and remove the crank pulley. All right, and so for the Cayman, you're going to want a shallow socket. All right, so with a bit of persuasion, I was able to loosen up the crank pulley bolts. And once it's loose, it should just come right out nice and easy by hand, like what I'm doing here. Now, if you've just parked your car, it will be very hot still. Just keep that in mind as you're removing all this stuff. Don't get burned. And here you go. See, it has some sort of thread locker on it. Can probably reuse this thrust washer, but I got a new one. And there we go, that's out. No longer needed for the rest of the job. And of course, the pulley itself might need a little bit of persuasion. All right, and this is where maybe a pry bar will come in slightly handy as you look for places to pry up the crankshaft pulley, which got a little pry there and it comes right off. There we go. Now immediately I can already feel that this is much lighter than the harmonically damped RSS Underdrive pulley or the Carrera 3.8 pulley. So this is really not doing much damping and is there probably to be lightweight and spin up nice and quick, and the dual mass flywheel does all the harmonic dampening. So yeah, much lighter. I'll be putting on much heavier duty part. Now is also a good time to check the seal, oil seal down here underneath the crankshaft. So there we are looking at the crank seal, which you can see right there is a little bit leaky. So that'll be something that I'll replace over the winter on my next oil change. So I'll be doing some of this all over again. And that right there, that's the timing boss that we'll be shaving down a bit to make sure that the underdrive pulley can fit. All right, so now that I have everything out that needs to be out, I'm going to start taping up some areas so that when I am grinding down that timing boss, it doesn't get all over things like that crankshaft seal and all sorts of other stuff that's moving down here that you just don't want metal bits to be caught up into. So yeah, I'm going to be taping some stuff off. Also going to cover up the water pump a little bit. And to finish things off, I'm going to put this towel down so that when things fall, they fall onto the towel and I can just lift the towel out. Now I'm going to go extra careful on this, and I'll be running a vacuum while I'm grinding this down as well. So hopefully that helps keep the mess to a minimum. Now we're going to be grinding down that timing boss, which is probably the tougher part of this job if you have all the tools that you need. And always wear safety equipment, safety glasses. I'm wearing my glasses because I need them to see. This Dremel seems to be working pretty well. So I want to get a little close up here for you. Yeah, basically, there it is. You don't want the back of that underdrive pulley to be touching that when you are installing it back on your car, or if you do, that would be very bad. Now I'm going to start taking out this stuff here. So now that everything is cleaned up, it's time to start assembly, and this ring that came with the RSS kit is going to go right there and over that little indentation there, or thing that's sticking up. So the car didn't have one of those on it when I pulled the old pulley off, but one is going back on. All right, so a friction disc. Goes on like so. First, I'm going to test fit without actually putting this ring on so I don't lose it. It's a very tight, exacting fit. That is enough clearance. I'm going to get another shot here for you. So as you can see in this video here, the timing boss has plenty of room and the underdrive pulley is it's fitting right. So that'll be it. Okay, so last time we left off with the installation of my RSS harmonically damped underdrive pulley on my 2007 Cayman. I tightened it up the wrong way. Now, normally with RS's kit in a 997, 911, or a 996, you would use this on the pulley to counter the torquing force, but there's just not enough room in the Cayman or Boxster to do that. I noticed that the front main seal, the crankshaft pulley seal of my car was a little bit, looked like it was weeping oil a little bit, so I figured I'd replace it. So long story short, I finally was able to replace it after a lot of hassle. Not as easy of a job as you would think, and it involves drilling holes into your seal and then inserting screws to pull it out. So a little bit scary when you really think about it, but I got it out. Everything is fine. And now it's time to torque this crankshaft bolt down. RSS's torque specifications are 37 foot-pounds followed by a torque angle of 120 degrees. That's not very easy to do with your average torque wrench, and in fact, I just picked this Icon half-inch drive flex head with a digital readout torque wrench, 12 foot-pounds to 250 foot-pounds, and I've already tested out along with a shallow socket that I cut off and made even shallower. This is a 15/16, which fits just as well, if not better, than a 24 mil, which is what the bolt is. Long story short, this allows me to do the initial torque of 37 foot-pounds, switch the program into the torque angle, and then go to 120 degrees. And that solves how you torque the crank pulley bolt, or at least for an RSS 608 Underdrive harmonically damped pulley, and follow along as I do that. So what you'll need is your brand new crank pulley bolts. These only can be used once. I have an old one in there just holding the crank pulley in place. You're going to want the nice thick big washer that you'll keep and you'll use with that bolt. I'm going to coat this bolt pretty liberally with Loctite red, or this is Permatex red in this case, the high strength sort of thread locker, before I put that in there. And yeah, basically I'll throw it into fifth gear like it already is, pull the handbrake really hard, and that'll offer the resistance I need to tighten up this crank pulley bolt. All right, here we go. All right, to start out with, I'm going to get all the tools that I need ready. That includes your torque wrench, the shallow 24 millimeter socket that we've made super shallow, the Loctite, the said Loctite red or Permatex red, a brand new bolt, and of course, keep the washer from the old bolt and reuse that. So I've gone ahead and cleaned the inside the crankshaft where you would thread this crank pulley bolt in. It's a little bit dirty in there. I took some pictures with my phone and realized that it would be better if I just take care of it. So I used some degreaser with a little brush that was composite bristles. All right, that should probably be enough, so I'll just start spreading it around so it evenly coats the surface. You don't need it like all the way on, because as you thread this through, it's going to spread onto the upper threads. So at this point, I am removing the old bolt that I won't be using, plus the washer, as you can see right here. Discard the old bolts, holding the pulley in place. Put the washer on the new one here. It looks like it's a little messy. That's okay. Man, it is cramped to work in here, that's for sure. Oh, yes. There we go. I got it in there. And we can start screwing it in by hand first. All right, there we go. So that's on there pretty well. Now it's time to turn on the torque wrench, put on the shallow socket. This car is in 5th gear. Putting the handbrake on super hard. So we need to put it into 37 pound-feet, or foot-pounds I should say, or 50 Newton meters. And here we go. All right, that's 37. Look at that thing, it just lit up a little bit and told me I was at the correct torque. That is very cool. Now time to put this program to the angle mode. 37 foot-pounds plus 120-degree torque angle. Yeah, so this torque wrench that has angle capability on it is just really useful, that's for sure. All right. So yeah, it says 24 right there. 43 degrees. Oh yeah, this is going to be quite the torque. 65, halfway there. Oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah. Oh my. 106. And 120. Wow. It is really nice to know that I did that correctly. Now it's just getting this thing off. Okay, I can say that having a swivel head with a super shallow socket is the way to go on this. Most definitely. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and on to the next part. Now that we have the pulley on, it's time to put the belt on. All right, have our 24 mil so we can press down the Yep, there we go. It's on there. It's on there straight. Basically, it is ready to start. Now, I'm going to start it with this open to begin with so that we can see that it works. I'm going to open this a little bit. And everything is looking good. Belt is on there smoothly, so I'm gonna turn it off because we don't need to keep that on for now. Time to put the firewall back in, followed by the carpet. Yeah, with this carpet, you just gotta fiddle around with it a little bit, and it'll sort of naturally stuff itself back into where it came from once you get a couple edges in. Don't forget to put the seat belt back through its hole if you have one, like on a seat like mine. And that's it. My main recommendation, if you're going to do this job, is start with the right tools, because it's going to make your life much easier, and you might not even be able to do the job without some of the tools that I've discovered that I needed to buy, such as a torque wrench that has both foot-pounds and angle. I did that because the head of that torque wrench is nice and small and can fit into an area where I'm installing a bulky dampened pulley. If you're installing a stock OE pulley, like perhaps you're doing the crank pulley seal and just putting your stock pulley back on, you're probably not going to have quite as much issue with space, since the stock pulley isn't quite as bulky. Now, if you're wondering if I can feel the slight horsepower and torque increase from installing an underdrive pulley, no, I cannot. I just have to trust my car is a little bit faster. But really, the reason I did this was because I wanted to add a bit of dampening back into the crankshaft and into the engine after swapping my 25 pound dual mass flywheel with a 13-point-something pound lightweight single mass flywheel. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, please subscribe to the channel if you like content like this, such as DIYs or car reviews. And until next time.